Hi everybody, this is Sandy from Sandi Cooks, and I'm going to show you how today to make a salmon via sous vide, and I'll talk about that if you're unfamiliar with it. And I am going to make that with a lemon and thyme cream sauce. So I'll show you my sous vide and how this works, and come along with me. Thanks. All right, so sous vide, what is it? It is a means of cooking food at a very, very precise temperature for a very specific amount of time. Could be a long amount of time, could be a not so long amount of time, but the important thing is it's very constant temperature and for some period of time. I know that doesn't tell you much. What the heck is this thing? This is a heat pump. You put this in a pot of water. I'll show you that. Water gets sucked in here, gets sucked in here, comes out here at a precise temperature that you set. And what I'm going to do today is I'm going to cook salmon via sous vide, and you will see the most tender and moist salmon using this method that you have ever tasted in your entire life. I kid you not. It is incredible. And this is a really easy recipe that I'm going to make, but it is incredible. Served it to lots of friends, and everybody who's had this loves it. So I'll show you how to use this thing and how to prep this meal. So the first thing we need to do is just get some water going into this pot. The sous vide device is going to go in there, and the food will go in here in a plastic bag. Again, I will show you how to do that, and yeah, that's it. Okay, so this is pretty straightforward. Here we've got my device. I just plug it in over here. This one happens to be from a company called, the product is called a Joule, Joule. And my wife got this for me as an anniversary present a number of years ago. It was probably about $150 at the time, which isn't cheap. That's probably about $200 now. But it really It really kicked my cooking up a notch, learning to cook with this thing. So I'll show you this. I got to turn it on using my phone. I'll try and record that so I can show you. Okay, so I'm going to run this Joule app here. We're going to do seafood. Just going to do basic salmon here, their option. And here's a little description about it. You can see that. I know how to do this. I'll talk you through it. We're just going to set the temperature. I use exactly their normal setting. 122 degrees is perfect. And here you just say how thick your fish is. It's about 1.5 centimeters. Start. Now you can see that the sous vide is pumping water through and the temperature is going up. We can actually monitor it in the Joule software so you can see what temperature it's at currently. We don't care. The point is it's going to get to 122 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's going to stay there. It's going to stay exactly there. So we can put our fish in for an hour or 2 hours, and it's never going to cook higher than 122 degrees, which is perfect for salmon. So I'll show you the rest of the prep now. Okay, so we got our salmon here. Got it at the store the other day. There we go. And with fish, you usually are going to cook with the skin on, and you're going to try and sear that so you get it nice and crispy. But for this, because we're going to do it in the water bath, our skin's not going to end up crispy in this. So it ends up icky and mushy. You don't want it at all. So we're just going to take off the skin here, and you can do that just kind of running your thumb between the skin and the flesh of the fish here, and it just kind of pulls off. Whoops. You can use a knife. Works too. Come on. And I'm not too worried about this meat right down here at the bottom of the belly. It's very thin, so I'm not going to worry about it. Anyway, that's going in the garbage. Of course, that's going to stink. So that's going to have to go out today. I'm going to rinse this off. You can see that there are some scales on here that came off of the skin. And then I'm going to cut this into 3 portions and prepare the rest of this. Get it prepared. Okay, it's rinsed, but now it's soaking wet. And we actually don't want it wet because despite the fact that it's going to be in a water bath, it's going to be in a plastic bag. And it's going to cook in its own juices. We don't want it in the water. The water would just make it taste like water, right? It would taste like nothing after all that. All right. So there's our big fillet. I'm just going to cut this into 3 pieces. I'm going to go, let's see, about like that and that. Yeah, I think that'll be okay. 1. 2, 3. Oh, thought I felt the bone. I did. See? Look at that. Right along there. Let's make sure there's no others. Okay, that's it. So now, come on. There we go. Not much of one, but it is a bone. All right, so all I'm going to do with these, very straightforward, of course I just touched fish again, is I'm going to hit them with some salt and pepper and with some ground thyme. And then I'm going to just put some lemon slices on them and put them in my bag. And I'll show you how to do the bag because you do have to get the air out of the bag. And I don't have a vacuum sealer. Why don't I have a vacuum sealer? Because I refuse to pay for vacuum bags when a Ziploc bag works just as well. And for a vacuum sealer. So lots of people use vacuum sealers. That's certainly what professionals do. But you can do the same thing with a regular Ziploc or in this case, what, a hefty bag. This is ground thyme that I'm using. And I'm going to put this on here fairly heavily. This is going to be a very strong thyme-flavored meal. It's going to be very lemony as well, and creamy, and it's just really yummy. All right, that's good. These are going to go right into my bag here. And I'm going to put the lemon on once they're in the bag. Come on. 1, 2. That's all right. 3. All right. Now, lemon. We're just going to cut these real thin. Get rid of that. Real thin. We just want to impart a little lemon while it's cooking. All right. Can't really see this very well. I'm sorry about that, but I'm just going to put lemon slices on here on each of the 3 pieces of fish. I need a little bit more lemon. That's okay. Okay. Good. All right. So that's that. I'm going to put this in the sous vide. I'll show you that. And then we'll start working on the sauce. Okay. This is really very straightforward. But this is a little bit of engineering that we're going to talk about here. We're going to use the displacement method to get all the air out of this bag. Basically, you put a bag into water and you push it down. Sorry, the water's gotten rather hot. And it will force all the air in the bag up out of the opening. So we come down here and we get it to just a little bit of opening left. And we have gotten everything underwater now. And I just put a clip there to hold it in place. And now that's it. For the next hour or so, that is going to be cooking in the water. And the next thing I'm going to do is show you how to make the sauce. Okay, making the sauce is really very straightforward. Get rid of that to make this a little easier. We're going to squeeze 3 lemons, I think will be enough for the amount of sauce we're going to make. Just cutting these ends off to make it a little bit easier to use the juicer. Okay, squeeze these in. There's only 4 ingredients in our sauce. So we got our lemons, we've got heavy whipping cream, a whole bunch of ground thyme, a lot of ground thyme, and a little bit of salt for flavor. And the salt, we're actually going to hold off to the very end to add our salt because we are going to cook this down for 30 to 45 minutes to get it to the consistency that we want, where we've got all the flavor from all these lemons and from that cream, but we've reduced the volume by about half, maybe even a little bit more, so it's nice and thick and creamy and luxurious and, oh my God, delicious. Yeah. So, all right, we've got our lemon juice there. This is just a pint of heavy whipping cream, and I'm going to pour that right into the lemon juice. And you go, oh my God, no, it's going to curdle. But you know what? It doesn't. It's not going to curdle. See? No curdling. Okay? We're going to add, like I said, a lot of thyme here. And I will probably add more as we go. I should just use my whisk. I don't know why I grabbed a fork. That's all right. Now I'm going to grab a whisk. I have this little tiny whisk. It's good for these small saucepans. I know you guys probably want me to measure this, and I just don't. And like I said, I will probably add more time as we go. But we'll start with that. We'll get this cooking down. And like I said, we'll add the salt at the end so that we don't over-salt it. This is going to go on the stove now. Okay, so this is just going to go onto my small burner here in the back. I'm going to start it on high, but I am going to have to reduce that to a lower level. Let me turn off the fan, sorry. So I'm going to have to reduce it to a lower level as we go, because otherwise it'll boil over. So when it starts getting hot, I can see some bubbles forming. I'll reduce it down to medium, and then it'll go between medium and medium-low for, like I said, 45 minutes, maybe even an hour to reduce this down by half. So we're way up here. We got to get way down here before that is the consistency we want. So that's just going to take time. Yeah, and we'll flavor it more as we go. Okay, so you can see that that is boiling very vigorously now. That is too much of a boil. So I'm going to turn this down to medium. And we'll check it again in a couple minutes and make sure it's not still too high, but we'll probably turn it down even a little bit more. It's still a little more aggressively boiling than I would like it. So I'm going to take it down a little bit more. And then, like I said, you can see it's come down, you know, probably almost a quarter of an inch to a half inch already. So that's what we want to do. We want to cook it down. So you can see it's cooked down quite a bit now. I'm going to let it go a little bit further, maybe another half an inch or so. So you can see it's cooked down quite a bit now. It's probably about half of the volume, maybe not quite, or I should say a little bit more than half, maybe 60% of what it was. I'm going to let it cook a little bit more, but that's humming along right there, so maybe another 10-15 minutes on that. The other thing I decided to do was to make some glazed carrots. And so I just cut up some leftover mini carrots that we had that were, you know, like for dipping or whatever. And added a tablespoon of butter, filled water just to come up to cover them, and a tablespoon and a half of sugar. Now I've got that on high, and literally all we're going to do with this is cook it down until there is almost no moisture left, and that'll form the glaze for the carrots. So that's it. I'll show you that at the end. So our carrots are boiling now, and we're just going to let those go and go and go until almost all of the liquid is cooked out of there. And it's as simple as that. Again, tablespoon and a half of sugar, a couple big pinches of salt, water to just cover the carrots, and a tablespoon of butter. That's all that's in there, plus the carrots. Okay, now we're getting down to the right level here. Keep coming back and whisking this every few minutes. You can see it's getting nice and thick now. So we're going to add a little bit of salt and just get it till it tastes how we want it to. That's it. A little bit more salt. Sorry, this is jumping all over the place. There we go. So that sauce is ready. And over here, our carrots are cooking down. We're not quite there yet, but we will be shortly. As soon as the carrots are done, we will take our salmon out of the sous vide, and we'll be ready to serve. Okay, this is really starting to cook down now. We're getting close. There's not much liquid here. You can see it's actually starting to form a glaze here on the bottom. We do not want this to caramelize. We do not want it to start turning brown. So we're not going to let this go much farther than this. I'm going to shut this off in just a minute or so. But don't walk away when you get to this stage because it'll go quickly. Okay, so you can see there's almost no liquid left in here now. So we are going to turn off this heat and we are ready to go in terms of serving. So we're going to turn off the sous vide, take the fish out and just put it on a plate and we'll be ready to eat. Okay, and there's our salmon out of the bag, and we're going to go ahead and serve this, and I'll show you what it looks like all put together. Okay, so here is our fillet of salmon. Here's our sauce. You can see it's nice and thick, and I'm just going to put a couple nice spoonfuls over that. I probably could have even made this a little thicker now that I see the consistency. That just means cooking it down a little bit more, but you can see here how juicy and it just falls apart, and oh my God, is that good. All right, that's it. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy. Bye.
If you enjoyed this video, please click the like button. To make sure you don't miss new videos when they come out, subscribe to the Sandi Cooks channel.